Folks, I am going to give you guys a couple more suspicious deaths related to the UFOs in this video. If you've been following this channel for a while, you'll know that there has been an absolute scandal under wraps. Some people are saying that it's a cover-up, but basically Major General Neil McCasland, who was a retired Air Force general, basically, he has gone missing. He was one of the few people that knew a lot about UFOs, about alien activity. Apparently, America's been trying to reverse engineer technology that crash landed on Earth for years now, and he just completely vanished without a trace. Absolutely no explanation of where he's gone. The feds can't find him, the local police can't find him, and ever since he's disappeared, more and more people are noticing a lot of very strange disappearances, deaths, and murders related to anybody who had anything to do with this UFO technology. And in this video, I'm going to tell you about two more very suspicious deaths that we can add to the list of deceased UFO experts that definitely went out before their time. But before I do that, I want to give you guys a little update on the Neil McCasland situation, because they're basically saying that this is a cover-up. Okay, he's been missing for 27 days, vanished without a trace, and now people are basically saying that there is a cover-up. Ross Coulthard is an investigative journalist, and he thinks that basically the authorities are sweeping this under the rug, just like all the other deaths and disappearances related to UFO experts. So I want to watch a few minutes from this News Nation report first before I go to the Sentinel Network, who's had some really good reporting on the other suspicious deaths related to this case. But let's take a look at this cover-up and just ask ourselves, how can a UFO expert just disappear into thin air? It just doesn't make any sense.
I noticed there's been a lot of ill-informed commentary speculating that it's all nonsense and there's nothing to this. He lost his clearances in 2013 when he left the Air Force. He couldn't possibly know anything now that would be useful, and all the UFO stuff is just specious nonsense. That is not the case. General Neil McCasland was recorded in leaks that were leaked by the Russian GRU, where they tapped in to the private Gmail of John Podesta. John Podesta was Hillary Clinton's campaign manager in the years running up to the 2016 election. And as you would remember, Ashley, back then, everybody thought Trump had an ice cube's chance in hell of winning against Hillary Clinton. She was seen as a dead cert, rightly or wrongly. And a lot of the people in the Pentagon who've been protecting what I think is one of the biggest secrets in human history, the mystery of non-human intelligence engaging with this planet, they knew the game was up. And so a covert liaison began between John Podesta, Hillary Clinton's campaign manager, and people like Robert Weiss, the chief executive of Skunk Works at Lockheed Martin, General Michael Carey, a former very senior US Air Force Space Command general, and General Neil McCasland. And, believe it or not, Tom DeLonge, the lead singer of Blink-182, the rock band. Why on earth was this disparate group of people meeting? Well, the leaked emails that were eventually posted on WikiLeaks through the GRU, Russian military intelligence, they show that for many months prior to the election, there was an ongoing conversation between General Neil McCasland and all of these people about UAP disclosure, about revealing the existence of a non-human intelligence engaging with this planet. This is why a lot of people who are saying there's nothing to this have no idea what they're talking about. And it really shocks me that one of the things we forget is our history, and if we forget our history, we forget the real story. General Neil McCasland isn't just one of the most senior generals in the US military, now retired. He's somebody who was cleared to the very highest levels of some of our deepest, darkest and most important national security secrets. He was for a while in charge of all SAPs, Special Access Programs. He was the liaison who handled the administration of SAPs, which is essentially America's deepest, darkest secrets. He then went on until 2013 to be the commander of the US Air Force's research laboratories at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And it's Wright-Patterson Air Force Base where most of the military's secret investigations into weaponry, aerospace, new technologies, new propulsion systems are done. It's a massive facility with extensive extensive underground structures, General Neil McCasland ran the whole joint. Now, sadly, I feel terribly for his wife Susan. She's spoken publicly and issued a statement, and she's obviously distressed by the speculation that Neil McCasland might have been abducted or kidnapped or taken by potentially some foreign adversary power, or maybe some private military contractor that doesn't want him to talk about something. And she's concerned that there's excessive speculation that because of his past employment in the Air Force, it might lead to an over-speculation that he knows something now. The simple fact is, he does. General Neil McCasland has some of the biggest secrets in his head, not just about the UFO UAP mystery. You can put that aside for one moment. He's cleared to top secret compartmented levels up to 2013 on secrets that still persist to this day about American weaponry, technology, space weapons, but also, and this is proven in these leaked emails from WikiLeaks, also the UAP mystery. And it was incredibly Tom DeLonge, the lead singer of Blink-182, who went into detail about what General Neil McCasland admitted he knew because of his privileged information as a senior US Air Force general. He told Tom DeLonge that during the Cold War, the United States found a life form, an alien life form, and that he retrieved and oversaw the retrieval of alien spacecraft. This is a reality. It's not idle speculation. This is a truth admitted by a senior Pentagon general to, believe it or not, incredibly, you couldn't write this as a movie, a rock star who was fascinated in UFOs.
Well,
So Neil McCasland is the granddaddy, all right, when it comes to actually having secret information about UFOs and space technology. This is a real thing. I've been talking to friends and family about this. People have been telling me, what you've been making videos about lately? I said, I've been making videos about the UFO murders, the UFO disappearances. They think I'm crazy, but this is really what's going on. All right, this guy's gone missing. He knows everything there is about the US secrets when it comes to, you know, whether you want to say alien technology, space technology, advanced weapon systems. This guy is a big fish. And the fact that he's gone missing is extremely scary. Okay, whether you think aliens, enemy governments, friendly governments, the US he might have been talking a little bit too much. The US government might have taken him out. So here's the thing, all right? According to sources, President Trump refrained from releasing the UFO files. He had planned to declassify a lot of information about, you know, interactions with extraterrestrials, space technology and things during his first term. And apparently Trump did this. Trump, the big dog himself, apparently he didn't declassify the files in his first term because he feared for his life.
Now, I got told by people very close to the Trump camp that in his first administration, he was going to make a disclosure about UAPs.
and what happened?
He got scared. And I'm sorry to have to say this about the most powerful person in the world, but the commander-in-chief of the US military was scared of his own government. He became aware that there are forces inside the US government that frankly would and have killed to protect this secret. And he wasn't entirely confident that he could feel safe in making a statement at the time about what he knows.
Trump said that in his opinion, inside the government, all right, there were people more powerful than him that could, would, and have killed people over this information. All right, makes you wonder, is that what went down with the JFK situation? I don't know. But Donald Trump himself was scared that they would kill him for disclosing the information about the aliens. God help a retired army general that has all these secrets, let alone the President Trump, possibly one of the most powerful presidents in the last 100 years, essentially. Okay. Now, let's talk about the two additional names that have been added to the list of people who died that knew about this technology, about these encounters. Okay, the Sentinel Briefing, the Sentinel Network, this website has been a very, very interesting resource with a lot of reporting on suspicious deaths related to the UFOs. So I'm going to read you this article and you're going to find out about the new names that have now been connected to this, and it's very scary. The blind spot. Rocks are falling through our roofs. The man who tested whether we'd see them coming was shot on his porch. Independence Day 2024, another manager in the same sensor pipeline died. His obituary is the only proof that he existed. All right, this is terrifying. So they've got some links here to all of the stuff. It says they're running it now. All right, here's what's interesting. This website has been covering all this stuff for a long time, and the mainstream media is miles behind, arguably even covering it up. but we're only now seeing a few major networks just beginning to cover the basics of this story. But the Sentinel Network has been covering this for a while. They're at the cutting edge of this, and they're finding more and more bodies related to these research projects every single day. So it says they're running it now. 1 week ago, we published the long count. 9 names connected to the Defense Aerospace Corridor. Deaths and disappearances spanning 9 months. We mapped the AFRL funding chain. We documented the institutional silence. We laid out the Marconi parallel. We said nobody was looking at this list as a list. In 7 days, the wall cracked. CNN ran the McCaslin story with details that we surfaced about his AFRL command history. Fox News did the same and mapped the 1-hour vanishing window. ABC News ran our connections and detailed the search operations. Newsweek brought in a former FBI agent and talked about details first covered here. And on Saturday, News Nation reported the connection this publication documented first, that Monica Jacinto Reza, the inventor of Mondaloy, vanished 9 months before the general who oversaw the budget that funded her work. They named the specific directorate the Air Force Research Laboratory Space Vehicles Directorate, AFRL, SVD. None of them credited us. That's fine. I'm crediting you guys, all right? We're standing strong. We're rocking with the Sentinel Network. None of them credited us. That's fine. The point was never credit. Hopefully they'll mention me on here one day. That'll be fire. The point was that somebody with subpoena authority would look at the list as a list. That's now happening. While the networks ran our connections, we kept investigating. This briefing contains 2 new names, new evidence on existing cases, and a question that connects 2 Sentinel investigations that were supposed to be separate. We'll take them in order. They're about to blow this shit wide open. Okay, look at this space technology right here, right? The instrument manager. On July the 4th, 2024, Frank Werner Mywald, 61, died in Los Angeles nearly a year before anyone else in this investigation vanished or was killed. Mywald was a technical group supervisor at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. His obituary and his publication trail on the NASA Technical Reports server document a career spanning radiometry, terahertz spectroscopy, and orbital remote sensing. Okay, I'm honestly not smart enough for some of this stuff, but we're going to learn it together. Okay, he managed the development of the SBG-VSWIR instrument, a visible shortwave infrared spectrometer designed for the surface biology and geology mission. He had previously overseen the successful delivery of instruments for the AMRC program and contributed to AMR SWOT-COWVR, AMR Jason 3, and the HIFI. These are not obscure academic instruments. Visible shortwave infrared spectroscopy detects anomalous surface emissions and identifies materials from orbit. Advanced microwave radiometry enables all-weather target tracking and maritime domain awareness. The civilian applications are climate monitoring and oceanography, but the defense applications are intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. The technology is inherently dual use, and Mywald managed programs on both sides of that line. So what this is saying is basically he was working on technology that could be used to monitor anything, anyone, no matter the weather. And, you know, it could be used to monitor the weather, or it could be used by governments to maintain intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, and find people that maybe don't want to be found, or get a view of the battlefield that maybe the average eye in the sky wouldn't be able to get. Now, his obituary contains no cause of death. No illness is mentioned. No decline is described. He was born on June the 24th, 1964, in Rattingen, Germany. Educated at the University of Cologne, he's survived by a wife of 25 years, Jon J. Mywald, his father, and his siblings. Entries in the public memorial guestbook from his colleagues make clear that the death was sudden. Colleagues noted that he'd been actively engaged in ongoing projects and making plans for the future. The shock documented by his peers is not the language of a long illness. There was no press release from JPL, no memorial statement from NASA, no acknowledgement from Caltech, no local news coverage from the LA Times, Pasadena Star News, or any regional outlet, no entry located in the LA County Medical Examiner's public database. His obituary is the only public record that Frank Werner Mywald even existed and then stopped existing. Sus. JPL is where Monica Reza was working when she vanished 11 months later. Caltech IPAC, where Carl Grillmair ran quality assurance on the NeoWise data pipeline, is the same institutional family. 3 people from the Southern California Aerospace Corridor. Reza invented the alloy. Grillmair validated the sensor pipeline. Mywald managed the instruments. All 3 of them gone. Very, very suspicious, right? So the senior JPL technical group supervisor managing cutting-edge dual-use remote sensing instruments died suddenly at 61. No cause of death disclosed. No acknowledgement. The same silence that met the deaths and disappearances of Razor Grillmare and the Wright-Patterson personnel. I met Maywald nearly a year earlier. If this pattern has a beginning, it might be here. Independence Day 2024. The question we have to ask. 3 days ago, we published a special report, The Sky is Falling. 11 confirmed fireball events in 20 days. 3 meteorite falls reaching the ground. Since our report, 4 additional structures struck on 2 continents, bringing the total to 7. 2 daytime airbursts with sonic booms over major American cities 4 days apart. No major active shower. No known debris stream. ESA's planetary defense team assessed that the Koblenz object was a size class that impacts Earth infrequently and is often undetected by current sky surveys. So it says, the system designed to close that detection gap is NEO-Surveyor, the first space telescope built to find objects that could hit Earth. Its data pipeline runs through IPAC at Caltech. The man who was validating whether that telescope's instruments would perform to specification, the instrument characterization specialist whose job it was to find the blind spots before the telescope launched, was Carl Grillmare, shot to death on his porch. His killer's charges had been dismissed 11 days earlier. Grillmare ran quality assurance on the NeoWise Science Data Center and validated the instruments for its successor. His work sat at the center of the detection layer, find the dark, cold object against the black of space before it finds you. That layer is now missing the person who tested whether it actually works. We're not asserting a connection between those cases and the fireball cluster we documented in that special report, but we are documenting that the person best positioned to identify the blind spots in the detection infrastructure currently failing to see objects before they hit Earth is on this list. That is a question. It deserves an answer from someone with a badge and a budget. We do not have either. We have a keyboard and a pattern. The third man in the corridor. Maywald extends the timeline backwards, and the next name widens it. After the long count published, a reader pointed us to a case in Los Alamos that we hadn't investigated. In the long count, we documented Melissa Cassius, a DOE advisory board member connected to LANL, whose husband is a superintendent, third level, I guess, at the laboratory, who vanished from Taos in June 26, 2025. McCaslin vanished from Albuquerque 8 months later, both from the New Mexico Defense Corridor, and both were gone without a trace. But there was a third, and he was the first. There he is. Okay? So, Anthony Chavez, or Tony Chavez, was a longtime LNAL employee who worked at the laboratory until approximately 2017. He lived on 37th Street in the Denver Steels, one of the oldest neighborhoods in Los Alamos. The homes are prefabricated structures assembled from kits in the late 40s by the Atomic Energy Commission to house workers during the post-war expansion of the nuclear weapons complex. The neighborhood exists because the laboratory exists. His landline records show that he last made calls from his house on the evening of May 5th, 2025. He did not carry a cell phone. On May the 8th, when friends and family couldn't reach him, the Los Alamos Police Department conducted a welfare check. His car was locked in the driveway. Inside, his wallets, keys, and cigarettes sat on the living room table. No forced entry, no blood, no signs of struggle. Detective Ladislas Sabo, lead investigator, described the scene. There was no evidence of a scuffle, there was no blood, there was nothing, it was like he just left. Specialized cadaver dogs from the Sandia Search Dogs and Mountain Canine Corps searched his home, his sister's nearby house, and the trails along Pueblo Canyon. All searches returned negative. His bank activity ceased around May the 5th, and he's never been found. That's so creepy. Carl Buckland, a close friend and attorney who had known Chavez since childhood, publicly disputed the idea that he left voluntarily. He described Chavez as a healthy and extremely mentally stable person. The Los Alamos Police Department issued 2 missing person announcements in mid-May 2025. After May 20th, all media coverage stopped. A single local Substack article from Boomtown, Los Alamos, published June 25th, 2025, remains the most detailed public account of the case. We've not been able to confirm Chavez's specific role or division at LANL. That matters, and we're transparent about the limit. But what we can confirm is that a long-time laboratory employee vanished from a town that exists because of the laboratory, 6 weeks before Razor and 7 weeks before Cassius, under circumstances that will look very familiar by the time you finish this briefing. Nobody saw him leave. 2 new names, now the evidence on the names we already have. The narrative around McCaslin is that he left his home on foot. Every outlet reported it that way, and we reported it that way too. On Saturday, investigative journalist Ross Coulthard pointed out that something that had been sitting in the timeline all along. In an interview on News Nation, Coulthard said 1 hour he was there with a repairman who saw him in the home, then his wife came back a little over an hour later and he had disappeared. Nobody witnessed William Neil McCasland leave his house. The repairman interacted with him around 10 a.m. on February the 27th. His wife left for a medical appointment at 11:10 a.m., and when she returned at 12:04 p.m., he was gone. Between those two data points, there is nothing. No confirmed video from any surveillance camera on his street, no neighbor sighting, no trail camera, no doorbell footage. The Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office has canvassed over 700 homes, reviewing footage from both ends of his street. Zero confirmed sightings showing his direction of travel. He just disappeared. The assumption that he left on foot is exactly that, an assumption. The evidence shows only that he was inside his house and then he was not. The signature. The March 17th press conference disclosed new physical details about McCasland's disappearance. Among the items unaccounted for from his home were his wallet, a .38 caliber revolver with a leather holster, and a red backpack. He left behind his phone, prescription glasses, and wearable devices. BCSO confirmed that McCasland had reported experiencing a mental fog in the months before his disappearance, and he'd stepped down from groups that he was involved with. Investigators pushed back hard. There's no indication, and we are not putting forward that Mr. McCasland was disoriented or confused. Arguably, he would still be the most intelligent person in the room that any of us would be in. Clothing believed to be his, a light green long-sleeve shirt, and hiking boots were recovered at his second home in Pagosa Springs, Colorado, approximately 200 miles from Albuquerque. A gray U.S. Air Force sweatshirt was found 1.25 miles east of his residence on March the 7th, but hasn't been confirmed by his family. While we tracked the press conference, we also pulled a thread on Melissa Cassius that changes the texture of her disappearance. The Taos News reported details that we had not previously documented, that surveillance footage from a Talpa residence on New Mexico 518 captured Cassius walking eastbound, carrying a backpack roughly an hour after she dropped off lunch to her daughter on June the 26th, 2025. Her husband, Mark Cassius, a superintendent at LANL, relayed what a witness reported. He said that she was staggering across the road like she was hurt or intoxicated, but she wasn't a drinker. Now lay them side by side. 3 people vanished from the New Mexico Defense Corridor between May 2025 and February 2026. A 4th, Monica Reza, vanished from the Angeles National Forest in California under similar circumstances. And in all 4 cases, the signature is the same. Chavez, May 2025, Los Alamos, wallet, keys, cigarettes left on the table, no cell phone to track, negative cadaver dogs, it was just like he left and was never found. Cassius, June 2025, Taos, both phones factory reset, carrying a backpack, staggering on camera, not a drinker, never found. Razor, June 2025, Angeles National Forest, waved at her hiking companion from 30 feet, then ceased to exist. FLIR, negative search, scent trail ended at a misplaced beanie, never found. McCasland, February 2026, Albuquerque, red backpack missing, phone, glasses, wearable devices left behind, mental fog reported, but investigators say no impairment, no confirmed video of departure, nobody witnessed him leave, and he was never found. Personal effects abandoned in every case, negative searches in every case, 0 confirmed sightings in every case, 0 bodies recovered in every case, 2 states, 100 miles of New Mexico desert, and 1 California ridgeline, the same outcome every time. It says we're not asserting these disappearances share a cause, we're documenting that they share a signature, the physical evidence left at each scene, the negative results from every search technology deployed, and the complete absence of any confirmed sighting or remains describe the same event happening to 2 different people across 2 corridors. The updated timeline. When we published the long count, we documented 9 names across a 9-month window, beginning with Monica Jacinto Reza on June 22nd. With Mywald and Chavez, the window is wider and the list is longer. July the 4th, 2024, Frank Werner Mywald, 61, JPL, Technical Group Supervisor, SBG VSWIR and AMRC programs, dead. No cause disclosed, no institutional acknowledgement, no news coverage. May the 5th to the 8th, 2025, Anthony Chavez, 78, LANL, specific role undisclosed. Wallet, keys, and cigarettes left on the table, no cell phone, negative cadaver dogs, missing. June 22, 2025, Monica Jacinto Reza, 60, JPL, AFRL funded contractor, inventor of Mondaloy, vanished from a ridgeline in the Angeles National Forest and is missing. June 26, 2025, Melissa Cassius, 53, DOE advisory board member connected to LANL, both phones factory reset, staggering on surveillance footage, missing. This is so insane. October 25th, 2025, Jacob Pritchard, 34, AFRL Census Directorate, Jamie Pritchard, 33, AFL CMC, First Lieutenant, Jamie Gustitis, 25, AFRL 711th Human Performance Wing, TS SCI cleared, all dead, no motive determined. December 15th, 2025, Nuno Loriero, 47, MIT, Herman Feshbach Professor of Physics, Director of the MIT Plasma Science and Fusion Center, LANL, Ulam described distinguished scholar, shot in the foyer of his apartment building, perpetrator identified, dead. February 16th, 2026, Carl Grillmare, 67, Caltech, IPAC, NeoWise Pipeline, Neo-Surveyor Instrument Characterization, shot dead on his porch. Charges against the killer had been dismissed 11 days earlier. February 27th, 2026, William Neil McCaslin, 68, former AFRL commander, red backpack, wallet and revolver unaccounted for, phone, glasses and wearable devices left behind. Nobody witnessed his departure, missing. What the fuck? Behind them, Dallas Hardwick, AFRL Materials Directorate, Razor's mentor, Mondelez co-inventor, died of cancer in 2014. 10 people on the active timeline, 11 names across 5 briefings, 19 months, 4 states, 1 institutional ecosystem, connecting every name through patent filings, OSTI publications, congressional testimony, DTIC records, and federal contract databases. 1 week ago, nobody outside this publication was looking at all these names together, apart from me, because I'm reading it. Now CNN, Fox, ABC, News Nation, and Newsweek are all running pieces of the picture. They're catching up, but we're not slowing down. It says every name sent to this publication has survived rigorous verification against federal databases, OSTI records, NTRS publications, patent filings, police press releases, and newspapers of record. The pattern does not shrink under scrutiny, it grows. MyWorld extends the timeline to July 2024 and adds a third name from the JPL Caltech corridor. Chavez adds a third disappearance from the New Mexico corridor, joining Cassius and McCaslin with the same physical signature documented across all 4 missing persons cases. National broadcast media is now running the connections we published. The jurisdictional walls that prevented pattern recognition are developing cracks. We're not asserting causation, we're not asserting conspiracy, we're documenting that nobody was looking at this list as a list, and now they are. If you have a name, send it, we'll verify it the same way that we verified these. That is so scary, and I can't believe they're adding new names to this list every single day. Now, this is the Reddit reaction to this news coming out. It said, third person connected to Los Alamos National Laboratory, vanished from the same New Mexico defense corridor with the same signature, personal effects left behind, negative searches with no body. This is in the UFO subreddit. People are very suspicious. People are saying, what is the New Mexico Defense Corridor? It's a 100-mile stretch from Albuquerque to Los Alamos, Kirtland AFB, Sandia National Laboratories, and Los Alamos National Laboratory. 3 of the most sensitive defense and nuclear weapons installations in the country connected by one highway. McCaslin vanished from one end, Cassius from the other, Chavez from the middle. Scary. Okay, very, very, very scary. It says, when you stick to the basic facts and don't let the narrative run away with you, the pattern becomes more clear. Sounds like some folks are going off-world. All right. It's crazy. The Melissa Cassius detail that doesn't get enough attention. Both phones were factory reset before she vanished. That's not panic, that's procedure. Someone knew that what they were doing, or she did. Either answer is disturbing. The staggering on surveillance could be a lot of things, but combined with the reset phones in the backpack, it reads like a departure that was prepared for her. And the Sentinel replied, they said, this is something we've been looking at closely. Government-issued phones at federal labs run mobile device management software specifically designed to prevent factory resets. It blocks attempts, requires admin credentials, and logs everything. Successfully wiping a managed device at a nuclear weapons lab is not something you do by accident. Someone either had the technical knowledge to bypass MDM or had the credentials to authorize it on 2 phones. Apparently, they can also do a remote factory reset. Some people are saying once an employee stops showing up for work, it's one of the first things they do. Although I don't have a government phone, I work at one of the test labs in NM, and IT told us that's what they do if you've got a phone. People saying, I agree, I was a government contractor for years and I was unable to make any changes to my computer or phone beyond screen size or ringtone without the equipment manager either approving it or doing it themselves. Maybe a phone reset, but I'm doubtful since I couldn't do that on the phone that I turned in less than 3 months ago. My job was far less secretive than these people. Very, very interesting, okay? It says, what doesn't make sense is they all seem to know this is coming. They all leave equipment and take a backpack, then they're gone. I don't think someone's killing them. I think they're leaving. Bunker, secret program, travel to a different planet, who knows? What's worrying is how quiet the media is on this. Any investigators or law enforcement agents reading this need to take a proactive approach and start monitoring other staff members at the NMDC who could potentially be linked to these. Reactive approach is getting us absolutely nowhere. Interesting, a pack of cigarettes was left. That does not happen when a smoker plans to leave, unless you're going somewhere you aren't allowed to smoke. Wonder where that is. Maybe they can't smoke on them spaceships. So someone's either rounding them up so they don't talk, or they're rounding them up in secret so they can talk. Either way, they're leaving without a fight, seemingly peacefully and immediately. So sure, the NSA and CIA can find anyone instantly, but well-known individuals who are involved in classified stuff just up and disappear. Sounds more like folks are being collected before the world goes to shit. Pre-planned stuff. That is really scary. What's the baseline chance of someone over 70 years old disappearing to off themselves? I know it's higher than we expect, but this seems excessive even for that age range. It's a good point. If it's 3 or 4 people of any other group in any other setting found so close together, then investigators would flag this as suspicious and leave it on the table until proven otherwise. They would continue to investigate. What we're getting from news outlets or investigators in regards to these events, I'm not seeing anything, which doesn't surprise me given the new landscape for reporting the news. Well, this is getting sus. My guess, potentially kidnapped by foreign adversaries. My crazy, absolute batshit guess, some entity, organization maybe has the ability to control and remove these targets through some means. Psionic devices. It would be extremely frightening to come to the realization that our minds are capable of being hijacked. This person says, I live in Los Alamos. I'm following this story now, but the only news around here was of the woman. There are still missing posters around town, but I was really surprised at the lack of local response to this case. We have an active search and rescue here, as well as a very bored police force. Interesting. It's crazy. Okay, just floating an idea. Are these people possibly forming a crack team that are being secured because we're so close to an imminent nuclear war, i.e. they're getting activated and going to secure facilities to ride out the nuclear war because their knowledge would be needed? That is actually a pretty good explanation. Wild cases, but have they been confirmed to be factual? I don't mean only details, but that these were actual people known by other people and they vanished. Anyway, if one just disappears, no blackmail messages, no trace, no enemies who would target them, it's probably a capture. Foreign actors don't just capture people like that. Even those Russian agents who poisoned Navalny got caught. The only way there is little or no trace means domestic government organization. Victims being far from young probably means that they've not yet been captured to some top secret job. Those take years and they could just be hired and forced to sign NDA. So this leaves information suppression. They know something and they were forced to leave. They're probably not alive anymore. Anyone who has capability to hijack people like that doesn't fuck around. They were probably contacted by phone or something, told how to act, blackmailed with violence to loved ones or something like that. Factory reset on phones and other physical evidence might just be planted evidence to cause confusion. Who knows to whom they actually belong to, if anyone. Okay, it is dark. Someone's saying, I'm choosing to believe they've all been abducted, that they experienced communication. They were told that they could leave this planet if they wanted to, so long as they left no evidence of where they're going. Much less scary, in my opinion. It's crazy. And people are saying, and these aren't the only people, something like 8 confirmed deaths or strange disappearances with no to very little significant investigation. Something weird is definitely happening, and this is the absolute most bizarre time with almost zero governance or oversight for this to be occurring, especially with Trump's insane statement that he's going to supposedly release all the UFO files. Almost to this day, people connected to that field in some capacity have started vanishing or dying. It's crazy. It's crazy. I'm starting to think this is the Chinese kidnapping people for their expertise and knowledge of secret programs. As much as I love the UFO angle, pragmatically, I bet they're being kidnapped by foreign adversaries, maybe even North Korea, where they'll never be found. That makes more sense than China. The North Koreans appear very desperate. People saying, I don't see how North Korea could get a military tactical team to New Mexico and kidnap 4 people without the CIA or DOD knowing about them coming here. We still find Russian spies, so I imagine finding North Korean military tactical units would be much easier to find. I might be wrong, though. I wouldn't put it past North Korea to try something that crazy. My hunch, they're being used by a private funder for their knowledge and expertise. People saying they're being abducted by aliens. It is pretty terrifying. It says they were going home, they weren't even human. My top concern is that they've become double agents and gone to China to continue their work. Good thing we have veteran FBI counterintelligence agents working on this right now to get to the bottom of the... Wait, they what? They've been fired by Director Patel or ordered to help ICE use Palantir software to detain tax-paying roofers? God damn it. That is crazy. But look, okay, we're finding more and more every day. And it is really, really scary. Where are these people going? They're not just vanishing into thin air. There must be an explanation. People don't just disappear and vanish into thin air. Then you've got the murders, the people that were killed, the guy that was shot on his porch, the double murder, self-deletion that nobody had a motive for. People were speculating maybe it was a love triangle, but I'm not sure. These people's background is too high level. It's too suspicious for that to be the case. So look, let me know what you guys think. Okay, shout out to the Sentinel Network for their reporting on this. I will keep reporting on this if you guys keep wanting to watch it. I am alarmed. And I'm scared, okay? But I'm also gripped and very interested in this story. We're one of the only platforms that's really covering it in depth. So I hope you appreciate that. And let me know what you think of that. And I'll keep on covering this as time goes on. But it is very scary. Stay vigilant, people. And I'll catch you guys in the next video.